Okay, I need someone to be brutally honest with me. Am I the bad guy here, or am I just finally asking for what I deserve? My boyfriend, well, now ex-boyfriend Elijah, is a good man. Let's just get that out of the way. He's a physical therapist, he's patient with his clients, he remembers to buy my favorite oat milk, and he never leaves the toilet seat up. He's stable, he's kind, he's practical, and that's the problem. The man has the romantic instincts of a rock. My best friend Madison is engaged to this guy Derek who works in finance. For her birthday, he got her a vintage tennis bracelet. Last week, he sent a massive bouquet of peonies to her office just because it was Tuesday. Their life is like a curated Instagram feed of affectionate gestures. And when I'm with them, with their whole circle of friends, I feel this pressure. It's like there's a language of love being spoken that Elijah just doesn't understand. I've tried to explain it to Madison. It's not about the money, I'd tell her over brunch, lowering my voice. It's the gesture, it's the feeling of being prized. I've even tried to convince myself it's a cultural thing. Elijah grew up in a very different environment, where love was shown by making sure the bills were paid and the car had gas. His idea of a romantic surprise is booking a campsite for a weekend or finding a rare vinyl record he knows I'll like. Sweet, I guess, but it's not a story you tell your friends. It doesn't sparkle, you can't wear a camping trip to a cocktail party. I kept telling myself that I wasn't materialistic, that I just wanted to feel seen in the way my friends were. I wanted the sparkle, I wanted a story. I just didn't realize the story I was about to create would be a horror one. A couple of months ago, I got a promotion at the marketing firm where I work. It came with a nice title bump and, more importantly, a substantial bonus. It was the first time I'd had a significant amount of fun money that wasn't already earmarked for rent or student loans. Elijah was genuinely thrilled for me. He cooked my favorite meal that night, a ridiculously complicated seafood risotto that took him 2 hours, and opened a bottle of champagne he'd been saving. As we were eating, he started talking about all the things we could do together. We could finally take that pottery class you mentioned, he said, his eyes bright with excitement. Or maybe a long weekend trip. We could drive up to that national park with the dark sky preserve. His ideas were so wholesome, experience-based, and utterly unphotogenic. The next day, on my lunch break, I walked past a designer boutique, the kind of place Madison and her friends casually shop at. In the window was a handbag I'd been lusting after for months. It was a sleek, minimalist leather tote, the kind of bag that quietly screams, I have my life together. It was also wildly, irresponsibly expensive. Standing there on the pavement, I thought about Elijah's suggestions: a muddy pottery wheel, a tent in the woods. Then I looked at the bag. It was a status symbol, it was a trophy. It was, I convinced myself, an investment in my new professional identity, so I did it. I walked in and bought it. The feeling was intoxicating. The heavy, glossy box, the crisp tissue paper, the reverent way the sales associate handled it. It felt like I was finally buying my ticket into a club I'd only ever been a guest at. When I brought it home, Elijah was on the couch, researching hiking trails. He saw the box and his face lit up. Wow, Phoebe, you got yourself something nice. You deserve it. He came over and gave me a kiss, genuinely happy for me, but then he saw the receipt I'd carelessly left on the counter. I watched the smile fade from his face, replaced by a look of quiet confusion. This is how much it cost? He asked, not with anger but with genuine bewilderment. Is this really what you wanted to spend the bonus on? I immediately got defensive. It's my money, Elijah. I worked hard for it. It's called treating yourself. He just shook his head slightly. Of course it is. I'm happy for you. It's just a lot for a bag. His practicality felt like a judgment, a wet blanket on my moment of triumph. It was all the proof I needed, he just didn't get it. And I decided right then and there that if he wouldn't celebrate me in the right way, I would find an audience that would. The perfect stage presented itself a week later. Madison was hosting a small get-together at her apartment, one of those effortlessly chic events with charcuterie boards and expensive wine that she specialized in. Her apartment, overlooking the city, was filled with the low hum of conversations about ski trips to Aspen and frustrations with interior designers. It was her entire circle, the people whose validation I craved so deeply. Derek was there, of course, holding court by the fireplace, regaling everyone with a story about his latest golf trip. I made sure to wear my best dress, a silk slip that felt both elegant and armor-like, and I carried the new bag like it was a sacred object. Elijah came with me, looking handsome and solid in a way that felt almost aggressively out of place among the finance guys in their cashmere sweaters and designer loafers. He made a real effort at first. I watched him try to connect with one of Derek's friends, talking about a new community garden project he was helping to organize in a lower-income neighborhood. The guy just gave him a polite, blank stare, mumbled, "Oh, that's nice," and immediately turned away to join a more lucrative conversation about crypto. After that, Elijah retreated. He found a spot by the window, nursing a single beer for the better part of an hour, an island of quiet sincerity in a sea of performative chatter. Seeing him there, I felt a toxic cocktail of pity and embarrassment, which I quickly transmuted into justification for what I was about to do. I, on the other hand, was in my element. I was laughing at the right jokes, asking the right questions about their Hamptons shares, and feeling, for the first time, like I truly belonged. Then came the moment I had been subconsciously engineering all night. Madison, as if on cue, spotted my bag sitting on an empty chair beside me. "Oh my God, Phoebe, is that the new Celine?" she exclaimed, her voice cutting through the noise with the precision of a scalpel. "It's absolutely stunning, Derek, look." All eyes turned to me. This was it, this was my scene. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat of anxiety and exhilaration. I let out a small, practiced laugh, a delicate blend of pride and weary resignation. "Oh, this old thing," I said, picking it up and running a hand over the smooth, buttery leather. I deliberately caught Elijah's eye from across the room. He was watching me, a small, hopeful smile on his face, probably just happy to see me fitting in. I had his attention. I had everyone's attention. I leaned in conspiratorially towards Madison and the small group of women who had gathered around, their faces a mixture of envy and curiosity. "I decided to get myself a little promotion present," I said, my voice just loud enough for Elijah to hear over the music. "You know how it is." I paused for effect, letting the unspoken but hang heavy in the air. "Elijah, he's the best, truly." I gave a little shrug, a gesture of helpless affection. "His love language is more, I don't know, checking the tire pressure on my car. He just doesn't really do this kind of thing." I finished with a flourish of self-pity. "So you know, a girl's gotta spoil herself sometimes, right?" The words landed exactly as I'd intended. A wave of sympathetic smiles and knowing nods washed over me. "Oh, I totally get it," one of them said, touching my arm. "David's the same way." I felt a rush of validation so potent it was dizzying. I had done it, I was one of them, but then I made the mistake of looking at Elijah again. The hopeful smile was gone. The expression on his face wasn't anger or even embarrassment. It was something far worse, something that hollowed out my stomach. It was a look of sudden, profound clarity, as if a switch had been flipped and he was seeing me, truly seeing me for the very first time. There was a flicker of shock, a deep well of disappointment that seemed to physically pain him, and then it was all wiped away, replaced by a calm, chilling stillness. He gave a tiny, almost imperceptible nod, not to me but to himself. It was a nod of confirmation, as if a long-held, terrible suspicion had just been proven true beyond a shadow of a doubt. He had seen the performance and he finally understood his role in it, the punchline. He didn't make a scene, that wasn't his style. In fact, his composure was the most terrifying part. He didn't storm out or confront me in front of my new audience. He just stayed by the window for another half an hour, finishing his beer with a slow, deliberate pace that felt unnervingly final. I tried to catch his eye a few more times to offer a reassuring smile, but he never looked my way again. He was a million miles away, already gone. Finally, he walked over to me, navigating the crowded room with a quiet grace. He didn't touch my arm or my back like he usually would. He just stood beside me until I finished my conversation. "Hey," he said, his voice low and even, completely devoid of emotion. "I'm feeling a bit of a headache coming on. I think I'm going to head home." I was still buzzing from my social victory, high on the validation. "Oh, okay," I said, distracted. "Are you sure it's still early?" I was annoyed, honestly. It felt like he was trying to ruin my night to punish me for my little joke. "Yeah, I'm sure," he said. "You stay, have fun." He looked at me then, a flat, unreadable gaze. "I'll see you later." "Okay, feel better," I mumbled, already turning back to my conversation with Madison about a new brunch spot. He left without another word. The thought that something was seriously wrong flickered in my mind, but I pushed it away. He was probably just being sensitive. He'd get over it. The party went on for another 2 hours, and I drank more wine than I should have, basking in the warm glow of acceptance. When I finally got home, the cab dropping me off in the silent, early morning hours, the first thing I noticed was the quiet. It was a deeper quiet than usual. I fumbled with my keys, a little drunk and clumsy, and pushed the door open. "Elijah," I called out, expecting to see him asleep on the couch. The apartment was dark. But as my eyes adjusted, I saw it, the emptiness. The coat rack by the door where his favorite denim jacket always hung was bare. I walked into the living room. His laptop wasn't on the coffee table. The worn-out copy of his favorite book that he was rereading wasn't there either. A cold dread, sharp and sobering, began to creep up my spine. I walked quickly to our bedroom. The door to his side of the closet was wide open. It was half empty. His sneakers were gone from the floor. His work clothes, his running gear, the ugly sweater his mom gave him for Christmas all vanished. In the bathroom, his toothbrush was missing from the holder. His razor, his deodorant, the specific face wash he used, all gone. It was a systematic, silent, and terrifyingly efficient erasure. He hadn't just left, he had surgically removed himself from our life. Just as the full weight of the emptiness began to crush me, my phone buzzed in my hand. It was a text from him. My fingers trembled as I opened it. It wasn't an angry paragraph or a plea for an explanation. It was just one sentence. Phoebe, you deserve everything you want. Good luck finding it. I immediately tried to call him. The call went straight to voicemail. I tried again, voicemail. I sent a frantic flurry of texts. Elijah, what is happening? Please call me. This is insane over a stupid joke. The single gray checkmark appeared next to each one. Delivered, not read. He had blocked my number. He had simply vanished. The next few days were a blur of confusion and a simmering, self-righteous anger. My initial panic curdled into indignation. How could he do this over one stupid comment? It was a joke, a harmless, silly thing you say at a party. He was being theatrical, overly sensitive, and frankly childish. This narrative was the only thing that kept the crushing weight of that empty closet at bay. I clung to my anger like a life raft. My first call, of course, was to Madison. I dialed her number, ready for a long session of outrage and validation. I pictured us dissecting his insane overreaction over coffee, her telling me I was better off without someone who couldn't take a joke. I needed her to be my co-star in this new act, the wronged woman. Mads, I said, my voice already cracking with practiced tears the moment she picked up. Something terrible has happened. Elijah left me. Oh my God, Phoebe, what? Her voice was full of the appropriate amount of shock. I launched into my version of the story. I told her about the party, framing my comment as a lighthearted, self-deprecating quip. I told her about coming home to the empty apartment, the single cryptic text, the immediate block on all channels. I painted a picture of a man who was unstable, who would throw away a 2-year relationship over nothing. I waited for her to join my chorus of condemnation, but she didn't. There was a pause on the other end of the line, a beat of silence that felt heavier than any words. Wow, Phoebe, she finally said, and her tone was off. It wasn't warm or sympathetic, it was cautious, awkward. That's really intense. Oh, intense. It's insane, I pushed, needing her to agree. He's punishing me for one little comment. Yeah, I mean, it was a little harsh what you said, she mumbled, and the words felt like a slap. In front of everyone like that. What Madison, you know how he is, he never does anything romantic, I was just venting. I know, but I don't know Phoebe. It just seemed really cold. Another pause. Listen, I'm so sorry this is happening, but I'm actually on my way to a Pilates class right now. Can I call you back later? She didn't call back. I sent her a text a few hours later, and she replied with a short, non-committal thinking of you. Hope you're okay. It was the kind of message you send to a distant acquaintance, not your best friend whose life has just imploded. I tried calling another friend from the party and got a similarly lukewarm, evasive response. It slowly dawned on me. My performance had won me a few moments of pity and attention at the party, but now, in the messy, uncomfortable aftermath, the audience had left the theater. They had enjoyed the drama, but they had no interest in helping me clean up the mess. The solidarity I thought I had purchased with my public humiliation of Elijah was an illusion. I was completely, utterly alone with the consequences. A week passed in a haze of unanswered texts and calls that went straight to voicemail. The anger had completely evaporated, leaving behind a raw, desperate panic. The apartment felt cavernous and hostile, every empty space a screaming reminder of what I had done. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I spent hours just staring at his side of the bed, imagining him there. I started to clean obsessively, as if I could scrub away the silence. It was while I was clearing out the small pile of things he'd left behind, a few stray books, a worn-out t-shirt he used for sleeping that still smelled faintly of him, that I found it. Tucked into the pocket of the old windbreaker he always wore for hiking was a piece of paper folded into a neat square. My heart hammered in my chest. Maybe it was a note for me. An explanation, a sign that he was coming back. My fingers trembled as I unfolded it. It wasn't a letter. It was a printout of a reservation confirmation. It was for a boutique hotel, a place called the Starry Ridge, for a weekend in the middle of next month. Our anniversary, I'd never heard of the place, so I quickly Googled it. The website was filled with pictures of secluded cabins, private outdoor hot tubs, and something they called a celestial suite with a high-powered telescope for stargazing. The package he had booked included couples massages and a private dinner on their terrace overlooking the valley. It was quiet, it was thoughtful, it was profoundly, devastatingly romantic. It was everything he was. My stomach twisted. I felt physically ill. As I sat there on the floor, staring at the confirmation, I noticed another piece of paper tucked behind it. It was a screenshot he had printed from his phone. It showed his browser history. There were searches for unique ways to celebrate a promotion, best quiet romantic getaways near me, and Phoebe's favorite flowers. The dates on the searches were from the day I got my bonus. The reservation confirmation was a punch to the gut. The search history was the knockout blow. It shattered the entire narrative I had so carefully constructed for myself and my friends. The story where he was the unromantic, clueless boyfriend and I was the long-suffering, underappreciated girlfriend. It was all a lie. He wasn't unromantic, his romance was just quiet. It wasn't meant for an audience, it was meant for me. He had been planning this. He had been listening. And while he was trying to find a way to truly celebrate me, I was in a designer store buying a prop for a pathetic play I was writing in my own head. I had stood on that stage at Madison's party and shamed him for not giving me the sparkle, all while he was quietly trying to give me the entire starry sky. It's been 3 months now. The silence from Elijah has been absolute. I finally stopped calling, stopped sending the long, rambling apology texts that were never read. The apartment is still half empty. I can't bring myself to fill the spaces he left behind. They feel like monuments to my own stupidity. My friendship with Madison has fizzled into a collection of awkward, polite exchanges. The brunch invitations have stopped. I see pictures of her and the group on Instagram, laughing, living their shiny, curated lives. I'm no longer part of the cast. It turns out that the price of admission to their club was my integrity, and when I spent it, I was left with nothing. I've become the thing I never wanted to be. A ghost haunting the edges of a life I chose to leave. I have a fake Instagram account now, a burner profile with no picture and a random name. Every night before I go to bed, I perform the same sick ritual. I open the app and I search his name. He hasn't posted much. There are no pictures of a new girlfriend, no dramatic life changes. It's almost worse that way. It's just him. A picture of him and his dad at a barbecue, both of them laughing. A short video of him patiently teaching his young nephew how to shoot a basketball at the community center where he volunteers. A photo of a sunrise taken from the top of a mountain, the kind of hike he always used to beg me to go on. He looks okay, he looks calm. Sometimes, if the light hits his face in a certain way, I think he even looks happier, freer. And me? I sit here in the dark, the blue light of my phone illuminating my face. That expensive, stupid handbag sits on the chair across from me, a leather tombstone marking the death of the best thing I ever had. I scroll through his life, a life I was supposed to be in, a life I was invited into, a life I threw away for a punchline. I got the story I wanted. I just never realized I would be the villain and that it would end like this. With the stage empty, the audience gone, and me, the clown, left all alone in the spotlight's fading glow.